Your hand is resting somewhere in the dark right now. And without even looking for it, you could call it yours, my hand, the way you'd call a coat yours, or a house, or an old familiar pair of shoes. You don't have to find it. You don't have to lift it. It's just there, wherever it has settled, warm and a little heavy, and somehow you already know it belongs to you, the way you know which door is your own in the dark. My hand. Such a small, ordinary thing to say. You've said it 10,000 times and never once stopped to wonder at it. But maybe, tonight, with nothing else to do and nowhere to be, you can let yourself wonder at it just a little. Not hard, not the way you'd worry at a problem. Only the soft, drifting kind of wondering that comes when the lights are off and the day is finally behind you, and the mind, with no more tasks to mind, begins to wander on its own. Because it is a curious little word when you turn it over. Mine. My hand resting there in the dark. As if the hand were one thing and you were another, as if you stood a small step apart from it, holding it the way you'd hold a cup, owning it the way you might own a coat folded over the back of a chair. And it isn't only the hand. Listen to how the same small word goes everywhere, quietly, all day long, and you never notice. My heart, you say, as though you kept it somewhere like a watch in a pocket. My eyes, my breath, my voice, my back when it aches, my feet at the end of a long day. My skin, my bones, my blood even going round and round in the warm dark of you without ever once asking your permission. Everywhere that small word, mine, 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 laid over all of it like a hand resting on something to say. This one is looked after. This one is spoken for. This one belongs to me. As if behind every one of those things an owner stood, quietly, just out of sight. Some single one who keeps all of it, the hand, the heart, the breath, the eyes, the way a person keeps a house full of rooms, walking from one to the next, switching off the lamps. There it is again, that quiet someone, the one who says mine. You can almost feel them there, can't you, just behind the words. And yet if you turn to look gently, with no hurry at all, it's hard to say quite where they'd be standing. Let the thought rest there a moment. There's no rush to answer it. It's a soft thing to hold, not a hard one. Because a coat you can take off. That's the strange part, when you let it drift up beside the other. You can shrug a coat from your shoulders and lay it over a chair and walk into the next room without it. And the coat stays where it is, and you are still entirely yourself, just a little cooler, just as much you in the doorway as you were in the coat. A house you can leave in the morning and come home to at night, and all day long it sits there being yours while you are nowhere near it. That's how owning usually works. The thing you own stays put. You can set it down. You can stand a little way off from it and look back and see it there, separate, waiting, plainly not you. But a hand, you cannot quite step out of a hand and lay it over the back of a chair and walk on without it. You cannot leave your eyes on the nightstand. There's no taking the coat of yourself off. Wherever you go, it has already come with you. Whatever room you walk into, it was there before you arrived. And still, the small word stays the same. My hand, just as you'd say my coat. The very same little word for the thing you can never once take off as for the thing you shrug away without a thought. As though some old, sleepy part of speech had quietly decided that you and your hand were two, when you have never, not for one single second of your whole life, been able to find the seam where the one of you ends and the other begins. It's a gentle puzzle, not a frightening one. Just the kind of soft, slow knot the mind likes to turn over and over in the dark, the way your fingers might turn a smooth stone, not to solve it, only for the quiet feel of it. And see how it deepens so kindly if you follow it just one step further. We say my brain. Of all the things to call mine, my brain, the soft gray weather where every thought you've ever had has happened, where this very thought is happening now. If I own my brain, then who gently is the I that owns it? Where is that one standing? Not in the brain, surely. If the brain is the thing it owns, you don't usually live inside the very thing you keep on the shelf. So a little behind it then, a little apart. The owner again, just out of sight. But then turn, just as slowly, just as softly, and ask the next small thing. Whatever that I is, that owner standing a step behind the brain, what would own that one in turn? Is there a smaller one again behind it, who could say myself the way you say my hand, holding even the owner the way the owner holds the brain? And behind that one, another. You can feel how the floor goes soft there, can't you? How each owner you reach for turns out to have another quiet someone standing just behind it, holding it, calling it theirs. And another behind that, like a long hallway of half-open doors, each opening onto one more dim room, with no last room, no final lamp, no one at the very end of it, all turning to say, here, it stops with me. I am the one who owns the rest. But don't let that trouble you. It isn't a hallway you have to walk down tonight. It's only a thing to notice, the way you might notice, lying in the dark, that you can't quite remember falling asleep last night, and find that you don't mind, that there's something almost restful in not being able to. Because that really is the strangest and softest part of all of it. This little oddity has been there your whole life, tucked right into the most ordinary words you own. Every my you've ever said, my hand, my name, my mind, my life, has carried that quiet someone folded up inside it, the owner who never quite shows their face, and you have walked around with it for years and years, and never once felt the weight. It asked nothing of you. It made no sound. It never tapped you on the shoulder in the middle of an ordinary afternoon to say, you know, it's a little strange, the way you speak of yourself, as though you were two. It simply waited, patient as furniture, hidden in plain sight, in the most worn and familiar corner of your own speech. And only now, perhaps, only here in the dark, with the day set down and the mind gone loose and slow and wandering, does it drift up quietly to be noticed at all. Not as a problem, never as a problem, just as a small, mild wonder you somehow walked past 10,000 times. Like finding a faint old pattern in wallpaper you've lived beside for years and never truly looked at, there all along, asking nothing, only waiting for the evening you'd finally be still enough to see it. There's something almost comforting in that, isn't there? That the puzzle is so old and so gentle, that it has been with you this whole time and never once done you any harm, that you can pick it up now, soft as the stone, and turn it slowly in the dark, and you don't have to solve it, and nothing depends on the answer, and the not knowing is its own quiet kind of rest. So who is it then? This one who says mine. This owner just behind the eyes, just behind the breath, just behind the brain, the one you keep almost reaching and never quite touching. You don't have to catch them tonight. You couldn't, anyway. Every time you turn, they've already slipped one room further back. But it's a soft thing to lie here and wonder after them, the way you might wonder, half asleep, who it is that does your dreaming. And as you wonder, gently, without leaning in, the mind reaches, the way a mind will for a picture. Something simple, something almost from childhood. An old, half-remembered way of imagining it, worn smooth by long use. The kind of picture you didn't decide to make so much as find yourself already holding. Someone small, somewhere in there. A little way behind the eyes, in the soft dark of the head, sitting quietly, the one who has been doing all the owning this whole time. The one who says mine and means it, and keeps the hand and the heart and the breath the way a person keeps a house. Someone small, somewhere behind the eyes, watching all of it. There's an old habit of imagining it just that way, someone in there, somewhere behind the eyes, a small and patient watcher sitting in the soft dark of the head, taking in the show. It's such a cozy picture, really, almost from a storybook. A little figure at the front of a quiet room, the eyes two windows looking out onto the day. And there they sit, watching it all go by, the morning light, the faces, the long, slow afternoon, the way you'd watch a film unspool in a dim theater, leaning back, taking it in. The hand lifts, and the little one sees the hand lift. A voice says your name, and the little one hears it. And whatever the day brings, it is brought to them, there, in the dark behind your eyes, to be watched. It's a comfortable thought to lie down inside. There's company in it. As though, however lonely a day might get, there's always that one small, faithful watcher in there with you, keeping you company from the inside, seeing what you see. The one who's been there all along. The one, perhaps, who does all the owning, who says my hand and my heart and means it, sitting quietly at the center of everything, holding the whole house of you together just by watching over it. But stay with the little watcher a moment, softly, the way you'd stay with someone before sleep. Because if there really were one, someone small in there, looking out, then you'd have to wonder gently how they do it. How does the little watcher see? With eyes, you'd think. Small eyes of their own there in the dark, turned toward the day coming in. And behind those small eyes, well, if seeing needs a watcher, then who sits behind the little one's eyes, watching what the little one watches? A smaller one again. Smaller still, further in a darker and quieter room, leaning back to take in the show that the first one is taking in. And you can feel where this is going, can't you? Softly, with no alarm. Because behind that smaller watcher, there would have to be a smaller one again. And behind that one another, each one needing its own little watcher tucked in behind it to see what it sees. A watcher, inside the watcher, on and on, like those painted wooden dolls that open to a smaller doll, and a smaller doll. And you keep opening them, smaller and smaller in your palm, looking for the last one, the solid one, the tiny one that doesn't open. And here, in the soft dark, the dolls never quite end. Each one opens onto one more. There's no last little watcher at the center, no smallest solid one you finally hold up and say, there, that's the one, that's who's really doing the seeing. Let that be gentle, though. It isn't a fall. It's more like a thread you pull very slowly and find it just keeps coming. And after a while you stop pulling, not because you've reached the end, but because it's late and the pulling itself has grown soft and pleasant and a little hypnotic. Because here is the kind, strange turn the thought makes, lying here. If every watcher needs a watcher behind it, and that can't go on forever, or rather, it can, but it never arrives anywhere, never finds a face to rest on, then perhaps the little watcher was never really in there at all. Perhaps there is no small one sitting in the dark behind the eyes. Perhaps there's no one at the center holding still, being watched, at by no one, the last doll that doesn't open. Perhaps instead, and let this come softly, it asks nothing of you, there is only the watching itself. Just the seeing happening. The day coming in through the eyes and being seen, with no small one set behind it to do the seeing. The watching, going on quietly, all on its own, with no watcher folded up inside it. It's a curious thing to try to picture, and maybe you can't quite, and maybe that's all right. Watching with no one behind it, hearing with no one in the dark to hear. The way, think of it gently, the way a candle gives its light without there being someone inside the flame lighting it. The way the wind moves through the grass without a hand pushing each blade. The seeing just seeing. The thought just thinking. Nobody tucked away at the middle of it, only the thing itself, happening, soft and unowned in the dark. And isn't there a kind of ease in that when you let it settle? If there's no small watcher in there, then there's no small one who has to stay awake, keeping watch, holding the whole show together. No little tenant at the center of you, responsible for it all, who mustn't ever close their eyes. Only the watching, and watching can soften. Watching can blur at the edges. Watching can slow and thin and drift, the way it's drifting now, with no one inside it the worse for the drifting. See how it loosens things, this small letting go of the little one in the head. Because notice, too, and this is so quiet you've likely never caught yourself doing it, notice how we slip, all day long, between two different ways of saying ourselves, and never feel the slip. We say, I have a body. That's the owner's way, the my hand way, the coat on the chair way. I have a body, as though you held it, kept it, stood a little apart from it. But then, in almost the same breath, without a seam, we say, I am here. I am tired. I am warm. I am lying down. I am a body, then, not holding it from somewhere apart, but being it, being the very tiredness and the very warmth. Have and am slid together so smoothly you never hear the gear change. The body you own and the body you are, spoken of in one voice as though there were no difference at all. And maybe, in the dark, there isn't one worth keeping awake for. And you can feel the strange tenderness of it most, perhaps, right at the place we were wondering after the head, the soft gray weather of the brain. Because of all the parts you call mine, that one sits oddly. You can lose a great deal and still feel wholly yourself. You can lose the warmth of the hand to the cold, lose your voice to a long quiet, and something in you stays, watching it go, saying still mine, still me. The owner seems to stand apart from all of it, able to lose a little and remain. And yet, and here the thought slows almost to a stop, we feel, without ever being told, that to lose the mind would somehow be to lose the one who does the losing. That there's no standing apart from that one. The hand you have. The mind, somehow, you are. As though the owner and that one thing he claims to own were never two after all, only spoken as two out of old habit, the way you'd speak of a flame and its burning as though you could ever set them apart. And then, gently, gently, this is the softest loop of all, and you can let it turn you the way slow water turns a leaf. Then there is the small matter of the word itself. My brain. You say it as the owner says it, as though you stood behind the brain and reached out to claim it. But where is the saying happening? Where does the word my get made and shaped and spoken? There. In the very thing it's pointing at. The brain is the warm, dark place where the word my is formed. So when it says my brain, it is the brain's own quiet word for itself. The thing that names everything, that hangs the small word mine on the hand, and the heart, and the breath, and the eyes, all day long, naming and naming, at last turns, slow as a sleeper turning over, and names itself. Lays the word mine on its own soft gray middle, the namer naming the namer. The thought bending all the way back over its own center to touch the place it started from. It's like a hand trying to hold itself, like an eye trying to look at its own looking, like a voice trying to say the very mouth it's speaking from. There's no harm in it. It's the most natural thing in the world. It happens in you 1,000 times a day. But when you slow it down and watch it, here in the dark, it has the soft dizziness of a thing curving back to meet itself. A circle closing so quietly you'd never hear the ends touch. The one who owns, and the thing that's owned, turning out to be the same warm dark, calling itself mine from the inside, with no one standing behind it to do the calling. And maybe that's where the little watcher really went. Not lost, not taken away, only found to have been all along, the watching turning to look at itself and calling what it found me. There was never a small one in there in the dark. There was only the dark, quietly aware of itself, and giving that awareness a small fond name, the way you might name a house you live alone in, just to have something to call it when you come home. You don't have to hold any of this. It isn't a thing to carry. It's a thing to let turn slowly, like the leaf on the slow water, going round once and then round again, a little softer each time, a little further from the bank. The owner you couldn't quite find, the watcher who turned out to be only the watching, the brain saying my about itself in the only voice it has. Round it goes and round, and you don't have to follow it now. You can let it turn without you, the way the night turns without anyone minding it. And as it loosens, as the whole soft loop loses its grip and lets the mind slide free of it, the thought drifts on, the way a sleepy thought will, off toward something simpler. Something stranger and plainer and easier to rest against than all this turning. Because here is a small, odd, homely thing, sitting quietly underneath all the wondering that you somehow never stop to notice. This body, this warm and breathing nearness you have been inside of every single day of your life, closer to it than to anyone, closer than to the bed beneath you or the dark around you. This body that is either the thing you own or the thing you are, and that you can never quite decide between in the dark. It is, of everything in the whole wide world, the one you have never once been able to simply turn around and see. It's a strange and tender thing. When you think about it, the body you've lived inside every single day is the one body in the whole world you can never simply turn around and look at. You can look at a hand, yes. You can hold it up before the eyes and study its lines, the way you might study a leaf. You can look down the long, familiar length of yourself, the slope of you under the blanket, the feet far off at the end of the bed. But the face, the one you'd most expect to know, the one the whole world means when it says you, that face you have never once seen. Not directly. Not the way you've seen every other face you've ever loved. It sits there, just above everything, doing all you're looking for you, and it cannot turn to look at itself. Think how quietly odd that is. Closer to that face than to anything on earth, wearing it, being it, every waking moment, smiling and frowning and growing slowly older inside it. And you have only ever met it sidelong, second-hand, across a little distance, in the cool of some other surface. In the morning mirror, half awake. In a dark window at night, when the lamp behind you turns the glass to silver, and there you are, faint, looking back. In a photograph someone caught without your knowing. In the bowl of a spoon, the still face of water, the polished side of something. Always somewhere outside yourself. Always over there where you are not. And even then, even in the mirror, leaning close, it isn't quite the face the world sees. It's turned around, reversed left for right, the way mirrors quietly do, so gently you've stopped noticing. The face you greet each morning is a face no one else has ever met. The one they meet is its soft twin, the other way round. And the one in the photograph, that one's a moment late. It was already gone by the time it was caught, a face from a breath ago, a little behind. So the only ways you have of meeting yourself are all a touch untrue. A little reversed, a little delayed, a stranger and an old friend at once, met only ever across glass, across the small, cool gap that even your nearest self keeps from you. There's no sadness in it, lying here. It's only curious and a little wondrous, the way the deepest known things often turn out to be the least seen. You take it so for granted. You'd never think to be amazed that you cannot see your own face, any more than you'd think to be amazed that you cannot stand behind yourself. It's simply how it is. The seer doesn't see itself seeing. The nearest thing stays just out of view. And the body you call most surely mine is, in this one soft way, the one you'll always have to take on faith or on the word of mirrors. And maybe that's the thread to follow now, slowly, into the next quiet room of the wondering. Because if you've never quite seen this body whole, then where does it come from? That warm, unshakable certainty that it is yours. You don't decide it each morning. You don't check, on waking, whether the hands at the ends of your arms are the ones from yesterday, whether this is still the body you fell asleep in. The mine is just there, already, before you're even properly awake, settled over every limb like the blanket itself, sure as anything you know. It feels given. It feels like the plainest fact there is. This is my hand. Of course it is. What else would it be? But here is the soft, surprising thing the thought drifts toward, with no alarm in it at all. That sureness, that warm sense of mine laid over the whole body, it isn't simply handed to you, finished, the way you'd think. It's made. Quietly, tirelessly, somewhere beneath all you're noticing. The brain is gathering it up and keeping it whole, taking the sight of the hand, and the feel of the hand, and the small weight and warmth and position of it, all the little signals streaming in from the edges of you, and weaving them together into one seamless thing. This is me. This is mine. This is where I end and the cool air begins. It does it so smoothly, so endlessly, so far below the surface, that you take the finished feeling for a simple fact. You feel the result and never the weaving. Like a house kept warm by someone who tends the fire all night while you sleep, and you wake and feel only the warmth and never think of the tending. And the gentle, faintly astonishing part, the part to lie back into, is that because the feeling is built, it can be gently unbuilt. Nudged, coaxed a little sideways, with no harm at all. Because anything that's assembled from pieces can, very softly, be shown a different set of pieces, and quietly believe them. There's a small, well-known thing people sometimes do at a table, just to feel this for themselves. And it's such a calm and almost tender little trick that it's worth letting the mind wander through it slowly now, the way you'd walk through it if you were there. You sit at a table. You rest one of your hands on it, your real hand, your own, and then it's hidden from you, slipped behind a small screen or under a cloth, just out of sight, so your eyes can't find it anymore. And in its place, out where the hidden hand would naturally be, someone sets a false hand, a hand of rubber. A still, empty thing, shaped like a hand and laid there on the table where you can see it plainly, lying just where yours would lie. And then, very gently, someone takes two soft brushes, and they stroke the rubber hand, slow, light, along one finger. And at the very same moment, hidden away, they stroke your real hand exactly the same way, in time, in rhythm, the two strokes falling together as one. You watch the brush move along the false hand's finger, and you feel a brush move along your own, in perfect step, again and again. The seen and the felt arriving together, over and over, soft and unhurried, while you simply sit and watch. And after a little while, not long, often, just a quiet minute or two of that gentle matching, something in you shifts, so softly you can hardly say when it happened. The rubber hand begins to feel like yours, not a thought you decide, not a game you agree to play, a felt thing, low and strange and warm, rising up underneath the knowing. The sense of mine, that sureness you thought was nailed forever to your own flesh, loosens and drifts, and slides quietly across the little gap, and settles onto the thing of rubber lying there on the table. You begin to feel the touch out there, where the false hand is. You begin, dimly, to feel that the still, pale hand on the table is somehow, impossibly, you. And the most telling part is how gently it gives itself away, that if someone then reaches out, without warning, as if to bump or startle that rubber hand, you'll flinch. A real flinch, before any thinking, a small protective drawing back, as though something might happen to you out there on the table. The mind has wandered. It has stepped, just for a moment, out of your own hidden hand and into a borrowed one, simply because the eyes and the feeling were shown the same soft rhythm, and quietly drew the only conclusion a brain ever draws, that what moves together belongs together, that this, too, must be me. There's nothing frightening in it. That's the thing to rest on. No harm comes, the brushes stop, the screen lifts, and the warm sense of mind comes home to your own hand at once, easy as a tide turning, and you wiggle your real fingers and they're yours again, plainly, wholly, the way they always were. It's only a small, harmless loan, given back the instant the trick is over. But it leaves behind it the softest thread of wonder, and that's what the mind keeps turning now, slow and unalarmed, in the dark. Because if mine can drift like that, if that deep, unshakable certainty can be coaxed, by nothing more than a brush and a little matching rhythm, out of your own flesh and onto a still shape of rubber, even just for a minute, even just a little, then it was never quite as nailed down as it felt, was it? It was never simply welded to this body, fixed and final. It's softer than that. More like a warmth that settles over things, more like a name the mind lays down where the signals seem to fit, ready, it turns out, to settle a little differently if the world is shown to it a little differently. The mine you wear so surely is a gentle, ongoing guess. A kindly, constant guess your brain makes so well, so steadily, that you've mistaken the guess for the ground. And that's a soft thing to lie inside of, not a hard one. It doesn't take the body away from you. The hand is still here, still warm, still resting in the dark where it has settled, still answering when you call it yours. Nothing is less yours for being, underneath, a thing quietly built and kindly maintained rather than a thing simply, flatly given. If anything, there's a kind of tenderness in it, that something in you works so patiently, all your life long, never resting, never asking thanks, to keep this warm sense of being one whole gathered self here in one place, so that you never have to feel the joins, never have to do the gathering yourself, never even have to know it's being done. But the wondering, being a sleepy and a curious thing, can't quite leave it there. It drifts one step softer, because if the feeling of mine can slip so easily onto a thing of rubber, onto something that was never you at all, never grew with you, never carried your blood, then the question turns over gently and asks the other way. What is it resting on, this mine, even at home, even on your own true hand? What does it hold to when it holds to you? You'd want to say the flesh, of course. The actual living stuff of you, the warm and particular matter of this body. That's what mine has always meant. That's the solid thing underneath the soft word. And yet the thought slows here, slows almost to stillness, and there is something almost amusing in it, in the mildest and most weightless way. The very stuff of the body was never solid at all. It never once held still. Even now, lying here, perfectly quiet, seeming so settled and unchanging in the dark, this body is not a fixed thing the word mind could ever simply be pinned to. It's moving, it's pouring. It's being unmade and remade beneath the stillness, quietly, ceaselessly, the way a river holds its shape while every drop of it slides on and is replaced. The hand you call yours tonight is not, in its very substance, quite the hand you called yours years ago. And so the thought wanders on, kindly, with no hurry and no worry, to wonder what on earth that small warm word has been resting on all this time, when the stuff beneath it was never, for a single moment, standing still. Almost all of this, the warmth of the hand, the skin, the slow tide of the body, is being quietly replaced, a little at a time, and has been for as long as you've been here, far too gently for you to ever feel it go. Not all at once. Never all at once. Just here a little, and there a little, day after day, night after night, the body setting down the old and taking up the new so softly that there is never a single morning you wake and feel the change in it. The skin you're lying in tonight is not, in its very substance, the skin you wore a few years back. That skin has long since worn away and been let go, flake by unnoticed flake. And this is the quiet new lining the body has made in its place, with no fuss, with no announcement, while you went about your days, never once thinking of it. And it goes on everywhere, this slow and tireless replacing, far beneath your noticing. The lining of you, made and unmade. The blood, renewing itself in the warm dark. The surface of the eye, the walls of every small room of you, taken down and rebuilt so patiently that the rebuilding never shows. You eat, and a little of what you eat becomes you, becomes hand, becomes the very finger resting in the dark. And a little of what was you slips quietly away to be something else. And the trade is made so evenly, so gently, that the shape of you holds steady through all of it, like a candle's flame that looks the same from one minute to the next, while the wax it's made of is never once the same wax twice. So the very stuff you call mine has been coming and going your whole life long, a slow procession passing through the place where you are, and you, lying here, have felt none of it leave. The matter that made you as a child is, much of it, long gone now, scattered, returned, become 1,000 other things in the wide world, and you did not grieve it, and you did not miss it, because something stayed while it went. Some shape, some pattern, something that was you held on, steady and quiet, while the actual substance of you poured through it and away. Like a river that keeps its own familiar bend in the land, while every drop of water that ever made it has long since slid on to the sea. Though, and let this come softly, it's a kind thing, not a cold one, not all of you goes. That's the gentle surprise tucked inside it. It isn't that you are nothing but a flowing through, with nothing held back, nothing kept. There are a few quiet keepers in the house of you. A few rooms, you might say, that were never repapered, that have stood just as they were since nearly the very beginning. Deep in the soft gray weather of the head, much of that, many of those very cells where the watching happens, where the wondering is happening now, has been with you since almost the start of you, and will stay unswapped, unreplaced, all the way through. The same few rooms, lit and quiet, while around them the rest of the house is endlessly, tenderly rebuilt. So it isn't a clean and tidy picture, the body endlessly replaced. It's a softer, truer one, half kept and half flowing. A little of you has been here all along, faithful as old furniture, and most of you is a slow river passing through. And somehow out of the two together comes this single steady sense of being one continuous person, here, the same one who lay down last night, the same one who was small once and is older now. Not because the stuff stayed the same, most of it didn't, but because the shape did. The pattern did. The way it all hangs together held on, while the matter came and went beneath it like breath. And that's the soft turn the thought has been drifting toward, here in the dark, slow as the body's own quiet renewing. that maybe you are not the stuff at all. Maybe you never were. Maybe you are more like a flame than a stone. A stone is its matter. It is exactly the stuff it's made of. And if you took that stuff away, there'd be no stone left, only the going of it. But a flame isn't its matter. A flame is a shape the matter passes through. The wax rises and is spent and is gone. The air feeds in and feeds out. Nothing in a candle's flame stays put for even a moment. And yet there it is, the same small, steady tongue of light, holding its shape through all that ceaseless coming and going. The same flame all evening long, though not one thing in it stands still. And you, lying here, you might be far more like that than like the stone. The same warm, steady shape held quietly in place, while the matter of you pours through and through, renewed and let go and renewed again. None of it staying, all of it passing, and the you of it remaining anyway, the way the flame remains. Not a thing so much as a happening. Not a stone you could weigh in the hand, but a pattern the world keeps making here in this spot, out of whatever flows through. The way a wave keeps its shape and travels for miles across the sea, though the water never travels with it, only rises and falls and lets the shape move on. You are, perhaps, the wave and not the water, the flame and not the wax, the shape the river keeps and not the river. And maybe that's why, all this long while, whenever anyone has gone quietly looking for the self, really looking, to find the place where it's kept, they have never once found it sitting anywhere. We point to the chest, don't we, when we mean ourselves? The hand goes, without thinking, to the warm middle of the body. Hear me, as though the self lived just there, behind the ribs, where the heart is. And yet no one has ever opened that warm dark and found a small self tucked inside it. No little room with a nameplate. No still center you could lift out and hold up to the light and say, here, this is the one. This is who was doing all the owning. Only the patient heart, going about its work. And we point to the head, too, just as surely. And there, in all that soft gray weather, no one has ever come upon the watcher in a particular chair. No single spot where the eye sits keeping house. Only the quiet weather itself, lighting and dimming, the watching going on with no one found behind it, just as it seemed before. It's there and it isn't anywhere. That's the gentle riddle the looking always comes to. The self is real, nothing could be realer. It's the nearest thing you have, the one that's doing the very wondering, and yet it isn't kept in any one place you could ever reach in and touch. And maybe that's not a failing in the looking. Maybe it's simply the kind of thing a self is. Not a thing in a place at all, but more like a center the way the equator is a center. Because think how gently that sits. The equator is real, true as anything on the map. You can sail across it. You can feel the warmth gather as you near it. Ships mark the crossing of it. It orders the whole turning globe. And yet there is no line painted on the sea there. No ribbon laid across the water. No single thread you could ever kneel down and lay a fingertip upon and say, here it is, here is the equator, I'm touching it. It's everywhere along its quiet circle, and nowhere you could pinch between two fingers, real and useful and true, and not a thing in a place at all. A center that holds the whole turning together while being itself, nowhere you could ever point. And the self may be just such a center. Not a stone kept behind the ribs, not a small one seated in the head, but a real and useful and steadying center that the whole of you turns around, that you couldn't do without, that orders everything, that you can cross toward and feel, and that is, all the same, nowhere you could ever lay a fingertip. Less a thing than a kind of balance. Less a noun than a verb, really, not an object that sits, but a happening that keeps happening, a doing more than a thing done, the way a flowing is a verb, the way weather is a verb. You are perhaps more weather than rock, more the going on of a self than a self set somewhere down. And it's a soft, old thought, this, older than tonight, older than any of us. Some quiet traditions, long ago, sitting still in the dark much as you are sitting still now, drifted toward this very same edge and rested there. They went looking patiently, year on year, for the one who says mine, turned the lamp inward and searched for the small, solid self at the center of it all. And they came back, many of them, with this same gentle, almost smiling word, that when you look closely, kindly, there is no little stone of a self to be found. Only the flowing. Only the pattern holding its shape while everything passes through. More a verb than a noun, they said, in their own old ways and words. More a flame than a thing. More weather moving over the land than the land itself. And they did not find this frightening, those quiet ones in the dark. They found it, mostly, a great softening. A setting down of a weight they'd carried so long they'd forgotten it was heavy. You don't have to take any of that as true, lying here. You don't have to take any of it as anything. It's only a soft place the wondering has come to rest for a while, that the self you've been chasing all night through every room and mirror may be less a thing kept somewhere than a flowing kept going. A shape the world holds open in this one warm spot, here, where you are. Real as the flame, real as the equator, and nowhere you could ever quite put your finger. And there's such ease in that, if you let it settle over you the way the dark has settled. Because a flame doesn't have to hold itself together. It isn't a thing clenched tight against coming apart. It's a thing that simply keeps happening as long as the matter keeps flowing through, and softens when it doesn't, and asks nothing, and minds nothing, and is no less itself for being so loosely held. You are perhaps held that loosely too, that gently, that much like weather, nothing in you nailed down, nothing in you needing to be gripped or guarded or kept from slipping. Only a soft shape the world keeps making, here, out of whatever passes through, holding for a while and never having to hold hard. And if the self is more a flowing than a fixed thing, the mind drifts softly toward the one ordinary place that flowing comes most fully undone. The deep middle of the night, every night, without your ever noticing. And here is where the wondering has been quietly heading all along, though it never said so. Down toward sleep, toward the deep middle of the night, the part you never remember, the part that has come for you every single night of your life and left no trace of itself behind. Because something happens there, in the deepest reach of sleep, that is the strangest and gentlest thing of all. Deeper than the dreaming. Deeper than the place where the dreams still flicker and tell their soft, unlikely stories. Down below all of that, there is a stretch of the night where even the dreaming stops, where there is no story being told to anyone, where the one who says mine, the watcher who turned out to be only the watching, the flame, the flowing, the soft, warm center you could never quite lay a finger on simply loosens and lets go, and for a while is not lost, not harmed, only let go of, the way a hand lets go of a held thing in sleep and never feels it leave. The whole long argument of the self, the owning, the wondering, the I that has been turning all of this over in the dark, just quietly sets itself down, goes still, goes out, soft as a candle in a room no one is in, and there is no one there to mind that it has gone. That is the strange mercy of it. There is no one left awake inside to feel the going. For a while, you cannot even say how long, because the one who measures has gone too. There is simply no you there at all. No mine, no watcher, no center the world is turning around. Only the body, breathing on its own in the dark, tended by something that needs no tending of yours. The slow tide of it going in and out, the blood going round. The quiet renewing carrying on, the old let go and the new taken up, all of it minding itself, all of it perfectly content to carry on without anyone there to call it mine. And then, every morning, it comes back. So gently, so completely, without your ever lifting a hand to make it happen. The light finds the edge of the room, or it doesn't yet, and somewhere down in the warm dark, the gathering begins again. The pattern draws itself back together. The flame catches again from whatever embers it left burning. The watching opens its eyes, and the small word comes back first of all, before you've even thought it mine, my hand, my morning, my life, settled back over everything as if it had never once been away. And here is the thing to rest on, the soft thing. You have never once felt the seam. Think of that here in the dark. Every night you have come apart, all the way apart, down past the dreaming to where the self lets go entirely. And every morning you have been gathered whole again. And in all your thousands of nights, you have never felt the place where it was joined. There is no scar. There is no catch. You do not wake and feel yourself being reassembled. Do not feel the pieces clicking home. Do not feel the moment the I came back online and took up its post. It is already done before you know anything at all. You simply, quietly are again. The seam is seamless. It has always been seamless. You have crossed it 10,000 times and never once felt the crossing. So you already know how to do this. That is the gentle, almost funny thing the whole long night has been wandering toward. Whatever you are, flame or flowing or soft center the world keeps making, you already know, in your very oldest depths, how to do the thing you might have spent the evening half afraid of. To come apart, to set the self down, to let the one who says mine grow quiet and loosen and go, and to find your way back, unharmed, by morning. You have done it more times than you could ever count. You did it last night. You will do it tonight. You are, in a way, the most practiced thing there is at letting go. And it asks nothing of you. That is the kindness in it. You don't have to do the gathering. You don't have to keep the watch. You don't have to hold the whole shape of yourself together through the dark. It was never you doing that anyway, only something patient and wordless beneath you, tending the fire while you slept, the way it has every night you've been here. So you can stop holding now. You really can. You don't have to hold any of it together tonight. Not the day behind you. That's already coming apart on its own, dissolving the way a day does the moment it's over, and none of it needs you to keep it. Not the body, it knows how to breathe. It has never once needed you to remember. And not even the self, not even the one who says mine, the one who has carried that small word everywhere, all day, all your life, my hand, my heart, my mind, that one can set it down too. Can lay mine down on the dark like a coat over the back of a chair, and be no less itself for setting it down. And rest. There is nothing left to solve. There never was tonight. The owner you couldn't find, the watcher who was only watching, the flame, the wave, the center you could never touch. None of it was ever a problem to be finished. It was only a soft thing to turn over in the dark, the way fingers turn a smooth stone for the quiet feel of it. And the turning can stop now. You can let the stone rest in your open hand. The hand, still there where it has been all along. Resting somewhere in the dark, warm, a little heavy, yours without your having to claim it. You don't have to lift it. You don't have to call it anything at all. You can just let it lie. Let it be warm. Let it be held by the dark, the way the whole of you is held. And let your thoughts go wherever they like now. You don't have to follow them anymore. That was the work of the evening, the following, and the work is done. The thoughts can wander off without you. They can grow slow and far apart and quiet. They can thin out like mist over water, and you don't have to chase a single one. If a word drifts up, let it drift on. If an image comes, let it go soft and go. You are not minding the thoughts now. You are only here, breathing in the dark, while they wander away on their own. Whatever you are, it knows the way. That is the last soft thing to lean on, and then you can let even that go. Whatever you are, and you don't have to know, you never have to know, it knows how to come apart gently into sleep. It knows how to loosen and lower and let the day pour off it. It knows how to set the self down in the dark with no hands, and how to find its way home again by morning, all on its own, the way it always has. You don't have to steer it. You only have to let it. So let it. Let the breathing be slow. Let the dark be kind. Let the hand lie where it lies. There is nowhere you have to be. There is no one you have to keep being. The one who says mine can rest now too. Let go of the wondering. Let go of the words. Let go even of the one letting go. The thought is thinning now, going soft at the edges. There is less and less of it, and less to follow, and no reason at all to follow it. It is loosening the way it loosens every night, all by itself, with no help from you. And there is nowhere left for it to lead. Only the warm dark and the slow breath and the quiet that was always underneath. Only somewhere soft to set the mind down. So set it down.